Why, I mean, you've been with Cargill not the longest, but why would a large global corporation take interest in this topic?
Absolutely. Well, as Cargill, we are a global food and agriculture company, and we see our role as a connector in the food system. We're helping move food from places where it's grown to places where it's needed, and also working with farmers in many countries all over the world, a different context, high, low, medium income countries where farmers need different levels of support, and it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We are very flexible in how we work with our farmers, and recognize that at the same time we're all facing similar challenges. One thing, I'm really proud to be here standing with Anna, and really grateful for her partnership and the partnership with Dr. Fowler's team on their Vision for Adapted Crops and Soils initiative. And as Cargill, we signed on as a VAX champion and are working with an implementing partner, HarvestPlus, which is part of IFPRI, and essentially helping them amplify their work to, you mentioned R&D, Anna. It's really about, how do we develop biofortified crops that are delivering better results in terms of yields and incomes for farmers, and better soil health for long-term longevity of their farms, but also nutrition benefits to meet specific micronutrient needs in their specific countries to address the global problem that we have 2 billion people facing hidden hunger, which is micronutrient deficiency. No, it's been incredible to hear from such amazing speakers and world leaders on this important topic. And in terms of what's next, I was really excited to talk about yesterday on this panel with Anna about how we're going forward on implementing this VAX initiative. And I mentioned the piece about biofortified crops, and how do we make sure that we're increasing access to farmers for those improved crop varieties, but also then building the linkages to markets. And one way we're doing that is through homegrown school feeding programs in countries. The countries we're focused on are Kenya, Tanzania, India, and Guatemala. And so it's about really, making sure those farmers have a sustainable market, and that, we're getting those zinc-rich wheat, iron beans, these important, locally, culturally appropriate commodities with improved nutrition into school feeding programs. And then finally, also working with, investing in capacity in the smallholder farmers.
You mentioned those places, and I'm thinking they don't grow a lot of corn or soybeans. They grow what you're just talking about. But that's Norman Borlaug's. I mean, that's his DNA is changing wheat. Do we see that changing crops or alter them to make them more nutritious as a huge key in fighting this problem of food security?
I think it's essential. I mean, I think it's important to note that, as we look to 2050, we expect the population to be 9.8 billion people. And so we know that we're going to have to increase agricultural production from 45 to 50 million metric tons per year for the next decade. I know that's Norman Borlaug's legacy is essentially, driving this, robust increase in yields and potential. But as I mentioned, addressing this problem of hidden hunger comes down to how do you, address specific micronutrient gaps, because it's not just about caloric availability, but it's also about meeting the nutrient needs. I mentioned the $2 billion stat of people who are facing hidden hunger. I heard a stat today that was even a higher proportion of the population that we suspect has some kind of micronutrient deficiency. And you may be thinking, well, what's the point? Why does that matter? We can just eat enough calories to grow. Well, there's very significant problems of stunting in children, which means that not only if children are not getting the right nutrition from 0 to 5, they're not only not reaching their full potential in terms of growth of their body, height, weight, but also it has long-term effects on, mental acuity, mental health, all of these things, and all of that translates into economic prosperity or economic struggle. And so there is a very, very compelling case to invest in this kind of, nutrition-focused exercise that's also about meeting climate goals, meeting, agricultural and livelihood goals.